All right, hello everyone. It's John again. We're going to do a part two of this series, How to Build a Dashboard. So in part one, we built these two dashboards in light mode and dark mode, and we used some of the new widgets, and I showed off some of the variables and how you can adjust and change things. So we're going to use that same template, but we're going to build a little bit of a different dashboard this time. So I'm holding Shift and Option, and I'm just dragging down to duplicate these designs. If I don't like it, I can hold Shift again and drag them down a little further. Let's get a full screen going on here. And I'm going to go ahead and kill dark mode for now. We're going to start in standard and then we'll switch over. All right, the first thing we need to do is decide what we're going to build. So I'm going to head over to Dribble and let's go ahead and explore like a financial dashboard. So we're going to search. And we're getting some options. Let's put in dashboard. Okay, this is more like what we're looking for. And we built one over here, which is more of a metrics dashboard. It's really good for sales teams and businesses to track what's going on internally. But there's other options, which is more of like a financial style dashboard where we want, like say, more tables, more tabular style, and we might want to show, say, like a credit card or something like that. So that's something that we can think about adjusting to. So let's grab a screenshot of this and let's see if there's any others that we find interesting. Shout out to the authors, obviously. And this one looks sort of interesting as well. We're not going to follow these to a T, but we're going to gather some inspiration. So thanks, Vladimir, for creating this design, and we're going to use it as a bit of inspiration. All right, let's go ahead and just drag some stuff in here. Cool. So we have our inspiration over on the right hand side, and let's look at how this is built. So we've got a table on the bottom, again table on the bottom. We've got a bar chart and some sort of like high level savings buckets. So let's see if we can build something similar over here using our design. So the first thing we're going to adjust is instead of using a line style chart, let's use a bar chart instead. We're going to switch to bar, and we're going to have everything in this case be a lot more monochrome. So I'm going to take this down to just like kind of a black and white design, and we'll see how we like that going forward. Okay, and then I'm going to come back to these top level areas of the buckets, and right now I'm going to focus more on this building this table. So we have some new areas with table columns that we're going to want to pull out. So let's look at table column. Okay, great. So we have a table column builder, and we're just going to build a table down below, and then we'll put it in our design. So the first thing we're going to ask ourselves is, what are we trying to show? And the first thing we're going to show is probably a set of icons. So we'll go ahead and put action, and then we'll copy that, paste that, and start to snap them together. We're going to wrap these in auto layout, so we're going to select both, Shift A for auto layout, and because they were right next to each other, we have 0 spacing, which is what we want, and 0 padding basically. Next we're going to have just like a text, so I'll say general, and do this again. Then we're going to have again general, and we might have a tag. Okay, let's see what's going on here. this last one to tag. And then you can have a last action row as well. And on this first one, we'll have an action again. So select. Okay. I think that makes sense. So we have those there, and then we're going to switch some of these icons. We're going to say, throw in some brands just for fun. Okay, so it looks pretty good. So the next thing we're going to do is just, we're going to delete some of these rows from the columns. We're just going to build out our financial columns here. All right, and then next we're going to wrap that with a background. For the fill, we're just going to do the whiter color, and we're going to set a radius. Let's see what looks good. That's 16 clip. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then we can add a light stroke on it. Say line. Cool. And then let's go ahead and throw in some labels here. Say Nike, Google. Panda food, cool. of just setting some rough numbers here. I'm just going to set some categories. A lot of these are going to be food. All right, so we have our columns and rows set. If I had more time, I'd probably add more padding on the outside of this and maybe shrink down some of these logos. But I think for sake of the example, we've got enough here to go on where it's going to make sense. So let's go ahead and drag this in. Now, because it's the only item, let's get rid of this. I don't need to add a row. It's good to go. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to set the fill container state to go all the way across, and then these individual items, I want to make them all fill container as well, and then you'll see how this will start to build itself out just a little bit here. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to add one more set of columns here so it doesn't look so sparse. And I'll say status, pending, and I'll set the rest of them to complete. Okay, and then the next thing we want to do is set this to be not a fixed height but fill container, so it can shrink up a little bit. And that's going to allow this bottom table to take its natural height, because we can't crush these. We don't want to crush these in any way. So I think they're looking pretty good now. All right, so that looks good. The last thing we need to do is build out these buckets for ability to sell, and then we might even add some credit cards. So let's see what that would look like. So we've got our credit card components, and the cool thing is we can go horizontal or vertical with it. So if we look at something like this bar chart, it looks like it's going to fit in perfect. So we're going to take our chart, and we're going to auto layout it. We're going to set the padding to 0, the spacing again to 32. We're going to go horizontal, and then with it selected we can paste in our card. Now it's off the screen because this is right now set to fixed width, and you'll see that a lot of times when you add in new items they'll switch to fixed width, so we want to set that to fill container, yes. And then we're going to click in here and see that our containers also switched on us. We want to set that as well to fill container. Set everything to fill container, and then that'll work just perfectly. On this one, we can change the style to like maybe color, or we can go white, or we go split. I think this split looks pretty cool, especially if we black out the rest of this. So now let's look at some options here. Now we might want to go a little more straightforward with some of these, and let's just do this and do another stat up here. Cool. So we're going to switch this one over here, and we're going to set this to be all black. Cool. And we can say house goal, vacation, fund, fund, let's say we have $4,000 saved. Vacation fund, maybe we have $300 saved. And in the house fund, we have yeah, let's say like 9,000 or something like that. Okay. And again, this is sort of like rough US numbers. If this seems high or low, that's because it is what it is. And then here, I think that's still fine. Vacation fund, good. Let's go ahead and add for the sake of having an icon, let's add it to be up. And then we can go ahead and change this icon, which could be interesting. And we're going to select, make sure that the diamond shape is selected, and then we're going to go here and we're going to put in house, and then we should get our house icon. Cool. I'm going to get one that's a little different looking, so I'm going to set it to that, and then we're going to set it to black, and I think that looks pretty good. And then the car fund, we're also going to set an icon on that as well. So we'll go up, and I clicked in one too many, so I'm going to jump up and type in car. There's our car icon, and again we're just going to set that to black. Cool. Let's do one more thing here. Select all these tabs, and we're going to overwrite this as well to be black and white. So the first, I can't set it just to black, or it'll set the text and background color to be the same. So I'm going to set this like an odd color, and then they'll set the background to black. And then I'll come back and grab this blue and set it to white. So it's just a little temporary hack there. And I think that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and remove our avatar. Get rid of our back button, and we'll say just call this goals. Yep. And then let's make things a little more challenging. So let's switch this from compressed to full. Actually, before we do, let's go ahead and take our inspo. We should be able to get rid of that. Yeah, I think that's all good now. Get rid of it. I think the radial looks better. What do you think? Switch that there. Cool. Good deal. And let's add some other credit cards in here just for fun. You know what? Let's do something different. This will be fun. Let's leave that as it is. Let's switch this from vertical to mini. And then we'll add a couple of them. Let's say like 3. And I'm just holding shift and option. I'm going to select all 3 of these. I'm going to set them to look a little different. So I'm going to set one to black, and one to white, and the other to split. And then I'm going to grab these, and I'm going to do something I don't often do, and I'm going to do Command G to group them. Now, these won't be responsive, but to get this look and feel of the overlay, it's the only way you can do it. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of stack them to each other. Let's make sure they're even. So let's go right down to the pixel, and then we'll go 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, and we'll start there. So let's make sure these are all evenly spaced. We'll go right to the pixel so it snaps. We got our snap, 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Let's take our grouped grouped component set here, and I'm going to do Command X to cut it. I'm going to go into my row auto layout container, and then I'm going to paste it in, and it'll go off to the right. Now we'll see we've got some responsive issues here, so that may not work as well as what we wanted. So let's see here what we can do about it. One thing we can do is we can, instead of fill container, we can set it to a fixed size, and we can just make that fixed size larger. So we could say like 600. So it's going to take 600, and then these other ones are going to take what they can get. So we'll, maybe that's a bit much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That looks about right. 550, and then this is 401, 401, and this is 320. These cards, obviously you don't want to change them too much or they won't look in the same perspective as a card. Now we'll see that this height, total height is 220, and here we have 229. So let's just change that really fast. So we'll grab this layer. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now they line up. And we've got our financial dashboard. So let's go ahead and move this chart just down to the bottom. I think that balances it out a little better. Another thing we can do is we could say, get rid of this in this position. And then we could go down here and we could add this next to it, and we could set the height to fill container. And that also sort of starts to balance things out a bit more, which is sort of interesting. Okay, I hope you found this helpful and educational. Another thing that we can do is we can make it into dark mode. So I'm gonna quickly switch this over to dark mode, and we're going to also do another thing that's interesting, which is we're going to change the sidebar option here. So we're going to say from compressed to large, and then while we're at it, we'll switch this to dark mode, the top bar to dark mode. And obviously, we need to shrink that down horizontally, so we're going to snap that right there. We'll see that red line. And we've got to now resize our frame. Okay, we resized our frame. We can go into the pixel, make sure that's all set. Now, just because we resized the frame doesn't mean that the interior auto layout container has changed, so we need to shift that down a bit. Now the great thing is that if we turn on our grid, we'll see that everything automatically lines up to the grid because we have that 32 pixel going on, which is the exact width of our margin and our gutters. So as long as our gutters are 32 and everything else is there, then that's going to line up perfectly. Obviously, these are not completely 30% increments, or else they would also line up on the gutter lines perfectly. But we can change and shift things as needed. So if we were wanting to snap to the grid perfectly, we could go in and grab this shape and we could adjust it and snap it right down to the pixel of the grid. And because there's 30 pixels between this auto layout object, we know that everything's going to settle in just perfectly, and we could change this to fill container, and we might even switch this from a radial to, like, say a line or linear. Linear, I think in this case works quite well, and then we would need to maybe go in and make some slight modifications here. For instance, we want to center that, and that looks pretty good. All right, let's continue with the background. So we're going to switch our background over here to the darkest color we can muster, and then we're going to turn off our grid so we can see our colors a little better, and then we can go one by one and just switch these. Dark mode, dark mode. Because these are all the same component, I can select them all at once and toggle them. If they were different components, I couldn't do that. And then the container still has a background, so in this case we're going to kill the background. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, and the line we can add in, which I think would be, nope, And some of these have a background that we need to get rid of as well, or add in. So this is, okay, header week. Yeah, so this just needs to expand a bit. Fixed width to fill container. Fixed width to fill container. So that may be a bug within the component. If it is, we'll fix that too. Okay, and we're going to switch these last couple ones. Okay, so we can see these are starting to make a lot more sense. We're going to switch this black to white. We'll switch this to color. Black, there we go. And then we can change these to more monochrome. And there you have it. So we have our dashboard in light mode and dark mode with an expanded sidebar and a compressed sidebar. And then if we put them next to our other dashboards that we built, we'll see we have quite a bit of variety here now. So I hope that's helpful in you building your own perfected dashboard. I hope you enjoy these tutorials. If you'd like to see more, please comment in the comments below what you'd like to learn or see. And as always, we come out with new products, new updates. So feel free to go to our website, pegasusdesignsystem.com, and there's an email list below as well as some free downloads that you can get. Thanks so much. Have a great design week. Take care, y'all.